All right.
Hey,
Well, thank you all for joining. This has been an exciting journey. Actually, we've been trying to get Ryan to do a group human design for us, asking and all that. Ever since Suni came on, that was another one that had been very popular. So we are very grateful for uh, for his presence, both Ryan and Willa. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation. And I just want to say a quick note on my own personal journey with human design. I first heard the term in 2019, and it was such a blessing when I heard that. It really transformed my life, and it still does, of course. It's a journey. So I hope like that everyone here and people also listening to the recording do receive the blessings, at least the blessings that I've received and more, and whatever is appropriate for you guys. So thank you again, Ryan. Thank you, Willa, for joining us today for our first reefs, and probably we'll have more, hopefully more of those. But this is a an introduction for our group at REEFS today. So thank you.
over to you, Ryan.
Thank you, Corrine. What a wonderful introduction. And I think you summarized it very well by saying that human design is a journey, and it's a journey that speaks deeply to each and every single individual that comes into contact with it. Um, I guess we can sort of just get right into the presentation. Do you figure there'll be many more participants coming? Should we wait a couple more minutes or just get right into it?
I think we can start because there's already a lot of people are joining in, and I can sort of in the chat help people out if they need to catch up a bit.
Okay. Great. And there will be time for Q&A at the end. I've left some room in the presentation for that. So I encourage everyone, as you're listening into some of the topics that we'll be covering today, if questions come up for you, just make a little note, and please feel free to ask me at the end of the presentation. I'd be happy to answer them as best as I can. Of course, I can't ever answer every single question, but I'll do what I can to try and help at least to direct you in the right, or guide you in the right direction where you can find the information if it's something I can't directly answer. Okay, so thank you again, Kareen, and the entire group for this wonderful invitation. Jared, also thank you very much for this invitation, and Suni, who I formerly knew as Sunny, so I'm still getting used to referring to her as Suni. But all of you guys have been great in offering your recognition and invitation for me to come speak today, and I'm more than happy to share what it is that I've learned about human design over the years and how it can be applied both at the level of the individual and, of course, in the context of relationships and family, which I know this group is very much so about, and looking for solutions and practical applications through all sorts of different really amazing modalities to try and help to improve the family dynamic, family constellation. So I think human design is a perfect fit for that. As you'll see sort of midway through the presentation, there actually is an entire, let's say, charting perspective that you can use to analyze small groups. And there is a whole language base associated with it just for families. So we'll cover that a little bit after we get through some of the individual, components of design, because really that's where it all starts, is coming to understand your own personal unique human design chart and the information associated with your unique human design, and learning how to apply it in your individual life, right? Okay. So a little about me. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ryan Hanna. I was born and raised in Ontario, Canada. So I'm actually Canadian. I'm not living in Canada right now, but we're actually down in the South US, where Willa is from, but I am from Canada. I've been studying human design since late 2015 through both self-study and the formal IHDS educational pathway. And the IHDS is called the International Human Design School. It is a school that was set up and founded by the founding individual of human design before his passing. And it is a comprehensive education that people can take to become certified professional analysts, because there are such a thing in the human design world as people who are certified in the use and the sharing and the professional application of this knowledge base, which is kind of what I am. So, like I said, I'm an IHDS certified professional LYD guide. I do teach a course called the Living Design course, which is a very amazing complementary program for anybody who's had a foundation reading and has come to understand the fundamentals of their design and wants to take it one step further in helping them in their own deconditioning and self-expression process. I am an analyst in training. I will be complete my sort of professional analyst training in April of this year, which I'm really excited about because it's taken a long time. I'm looking forward to just, finishing out that chapter of my development, moving on to the next stage. I was a featured speaker at the International Human Design Conference earlier this year. That took place in Bulgaria, where I spoke on the topic of 2027 and navigating global change. And for those of you who don't know, the topic of 2027 is huge in human design. I encourage anybody who's interested to look up that information through searching for it on the home human design website, such as Jovian Archive. Or, of course, you can listen to the talk that I gave back in January on my YouTube channel, because I've posted that video for people to review. A little bit about my design. I'm a 6'2" profile energy projector. So I'm sort of designed to be a natural guide and advisor for other people. As you'll see today when we get into the types later on in the presentation, as a projector, my sort of role and, decision-making strategy is to wait for invitations before I share my advice and guidance for others. So this presentation today is sort of a perfect fit for me personally. I'm able to share what it is that I know and what I understand about human design with an attentive audience based on an invitation to engage. So we'll get there in terms of talking about the different types and strategies associated with them. But yeah, so I'm a projector type in human design with emotional inner authority. And again, if you haven't done any kind of self-study, these terms such as 6'2" profile, projector, emotional inner authority might be new to you. However, at least by the end of today's presentation, you'll have a better understanding of what those sort of concepts mean. Okay. And they're all different, basically labels or categories that human design has as a system knowledge base in being able to describe someone's unique characteristics at the level of the personality and at the level of the unconscious. Okay. So yeah, I really enjoy studying human design. I really love talking about human design. It's a real passion for me. And anytime I can share a little bit of insight about someone's design with them personally, and it helps them in some way, shape, or another, I feel really successful. And yeah, I just really love being able to share this knowledge and this wisdom with those who are so aligned to receive it. So the big existential question, what is human design? For those of you who are brand new, maybe this is the first time you've ever heard of this system of information before, or even for those of you who have done a little bit of self-study and are still sort of wondering what it's all about, because it is quite complex when you start getting into the layers upon layers upon layers of detailed information that's available. It can be understood that human design is a holistic self-knowledge system. It's been around since the early 90s in terms of its public availability. It was first founded in 1987. And the man who brought it into the world spent over 20 years of his life disseminating the information and teaching best practices and principles of the system until his passing in 2011. It is an extremely advanced profiling system. It provides very highly accurate and detailed information about a unique individual and their energetic system. It addresses concepts such as personal conditioning, It's one of the most fascinating things about the system actually is that it not only reveals your own unique qualities and characteristics and energy and how that all plays into your awareness and who you are as a unique person, but it also very clearly illustrates where you are open as an individual to taking in the energies of other people and being conditioned by those energies and how that conditioning can play into our mental construct and how we identify or who we identify with as a person. And what's really remarkable actually about design is a lot of the work in terms of coming to learn how to experiment with your design and coming to learn about your own unique being and qualities and characteristics is getting over or overcoming the impact of conditioning on your openness as a unique individual, which the system, like I said, deals with at a very, very deep level. You can actually see here, I've got these two charts side by side. So basically, whenever you look at a human design body graph, this is called a body graph. I guess I should mention that. It's an integral component of the system. It's the sort of map that displays the unique energetic qualities of an individual. And whenever you're looking at your own chart or the chart of another, anything that's colored in is referred to as who you are. Okay, it's an integral aspect of a unique person, and it is consistent within you for your entire lifetime, no matter what. It's always going to be a part of who you are as a unique individual. Okay, whereas on the right side, you can see that there are always going to be certain aspects of someone's unique design that are left open or white, and any of these white or open areas, like I said, are areas in which we can receive personal conditioning or have the receptors to receiving personal conditioning through interaction with other people. And like I said, human design is really remarkable as a system because it can teach you precisely how you've been conditioned and how to overcome that conditioning to more precisely align with your unique qualities and characteristics. Essentially your gifts, your natural born talents and gifts as a unique person. It pinpoints what they are, and then it pinpoints how you've been conditioned away from actually expressing those gifts. And as you'll see when we go through all the different types, sort of like the pain or the suffering that we each experience through the context of our type and through the context of our conditioning. Yeah, it's all given very detailed level of insight on how to deal with it, how to overcome it, how to heal from it, how to accept it, and how to work with it so that the conditioning is no longer sort of a pain point, but an actual access point for developing wisdom through the context of that openness. Yeah, again, human design deals in the business of providing individuals very specific, custom tailored decision-making strategies. These decision-making strategies, again, help us to align with aspects of ourselves that are consistent and sort of identified as being who we are as a unique person. And again, in doing that and in living a life in alignment with your uniqueness, you actually get to fulfill your unique purpose, and it sort of fits like a glove. And it's a process, of course, not something that happens overnight, but you enter into the experiment with human design, ultimately with the objective of being able to align with your unique life purpose and unique life's work. Human design does a lot for us in terms of an educational system as well. Of course, there's like the individual application where you can learn about yourself and you can learn about your friends and your family members, but it also teaches us about human nature and human energetics, because you can study the grid work or the framework of the body graph and all the different energetic centers and really develop a pretty profound comprehension of the human, call it genetic matrix or the human chemical matrix, and all the different energetic themes that are present in humanity as a whole, right? So you can study your own individual chart, and then of course you can learn about all these different components and what it has to say about humans and what it is to be a human and sort of what drives humanity and how we're all sort of built, and the common ground that we have between all of us, and of course areas where we are uniquely different. Of course, human design at its core embraces and celebrates uniqueness. It is often referred to as the science of differentiation. Because the information is so precise and accurate, it is quite literally capable of detailing someone's unique characteristics down to a level that is beyond anything you would ever actually even need to know about yourself in order to live a more satisfying, successful, peaceful, and surprising life. It is actually quite remarkable. Even studying it for all these years as a professional, I'm still learning new things. And of course, what's always so fascinating is having a look at individual charts and really, connecting the dots between unique components of someone's design and really seeing how it all works together to complement the totality of their nature. It's really remarkable. It is, it celebrates uniqueness and warns against homogenization. And like I said, in dealing with the conditioning aspect of human design, the word homogenization is used as a descriptor to what happens to people when they make decisions through their openness and basically become, just another common conditioned person, not actually living a unique life, simply living through common conditioned strategies that are no different than the person next door to you and how they deal with that same sort of open center strategy. So yeah, it's really remarkable. It also deals with this, and it's what makes human design actually so unique. And when you compare it to, let's say, astrology, for example, as human design recognizes not just a natal calculation, but a prenatal calculation. Again, there is an astrological component to human design. And anything you see in red, which is referred to as the design in someone's chart, actually represents their physiology or their body, and it's operating at the level of the unconscious, not the subconscious, but the unconscious. Okay, and anything you see labeled as personality or in black actually represents someone's conscious personality. It is the qualities and characteristics of their energy that they have conscious access to, that they identify with as being who they are. And like I said, what's really remarkable about human design is it actually blends these two aspects together into a single unified whole, where you have detailed information in a database, basically on someone's unique physiological or body, basically like the specs of their vehicle, as well as the specs of their personality or their conscious identity, or what some may refer to as the eternal soul. Okay, so it's showing this really deep intertwined relationship between the personality, between our bodies, and therefore sort of the unified relationship that best represents what it is to be an actual human being. Okay. Human design teaches individuals, of course, at its core, how to make decisions as themselves so they can navigate the world and fulfill their life's work and unique purpose for being here. That's, when you boil it all down, that's actually what it's all about, is teaching people how to make decisions as themselves so they can overcome their negative life's conditioning, which again, the conditioning comes through the parents, comes through teachers, comes through friends, comes through media, comes through, so many different sources, and overcoming that conditioning so you can better align with your unique nature is kind of what it's all about. And again, like I said, that's done through the context of providing individuals with very custom tailored decision-making strategies that can help you better align with your nature and come to a place of self-acceptance and really, prosper and find a sense of purpose in the world correctly as yourself and uniquely as yourself, unlike anybody else. It's the one thing that's truly, truly, truly remarkable. It can't be said enough about the system, is that how it quite literally shows you how you are the only person in the entire universe, to have the qualities that you have and to have the specific purpose that you have when you consider all the components as a holistic whole. And I often hear the question about twins, for example, or those who are born moments apart. You can actually go into the substructure information or the information below the line or the data set you can even see on the screen here and see and have a look at different things like underlying motivation, where you can see how a twin brothers may actually be at a personality level motivated psychologically by a different sort of underlying motivation, and that has a whole effect on their personality. So there's yeah, there's a lot to explore. And I think, again, boiling it all down, it's about decision making, and it's about decision making strategies that really do complement you as a unique individual, so that you can overcome your personal conditioning and fulfill your life's purpose and work in the world. Some people don't like the word work, call it creative pursuits, you know. Yeah. So benefits of human design. Of course, there are benefits to studying human design or receiving a reading of your human design chart. These include both personal and interpersonal benefits, meaning there are benefits that are specific to you, that are meant for you and you only. And then, of course, there are benefits that are associated with you in connection with other people and in your relationships and your family and your business. Okay. In terms of personal benefits, of course, human design is really all about helping you develop self-awareness so that you can compare and contrast, again, like I said earlier, between how you are personally conditioned and who you actually are as a unique person. And ideally, through that process, you are deconditioning one decision at a time so that you can align with the correct sense of purpose that is unique to you as an individual. Okay. And all that information is available in human design. Like I said, often it requires a reading, with someone like myself who's trained, who can offer you that precise information and guidance so that you can begin to work with the information. Or, of course, you can engage in self-study. There's a lot of really good, high-quality information and content that was produced by the founder of Human Design and other professionally trained human design analysts and teachers from all around the world who put out great information that you can begin to study and practice with, so you can align with these benefits. Okay, that's how the benefits are derived. Yeah, so interpersonal, there are things called connection charts, which we'll look at shortly, family group charts, and there is a business application of human design. It's called BG5 or Base Group 5. There's a whole website dedicated to that, and it's based on the mechanics of the original human design sort of BodyGraph and system, except the terminology or the lexicon, the wording has been adapted for the use in more corporate or business environments where, well, let's just say some of the more spiritual or more difficult, harder to interpret terminology that you'll find in the original system is replaced with something more universal and familiar for, like I said, a corporate or business environment. Okay. Yeah, human design offers a unique and transformative approach to understanding oneself and others. By integrating aspects of both ancient wisdom and modern sciences, it provides a comprehensive map of an individual's energetic blueprint. This living knowledge empowers individuals to engage with life more authentically, make decisions aligned with their true nature, and navigate decisions with greater ease and clarity. By understanding one's type, strategy, and inner authority, again, these are all terms that you'll come to know through self-study, and at least today, you'll come to understand your type and strategy. Human design fosters self-acceptance, enhances personal relationships, and can promote a deep sense of purpose and fulfillment when you actually apply the knowledge in your everyday life, which is, I can't stress enough, it's like, you want to lose weight, so you go to a nutritionist and they give you a diet plan, and it's not really going to work unless you apply it, right? So it's the same thing with human design, is the information is really fascinating, and you can spend all day, every day for the rest of your life studying it and absorbing it. But unless you really begin to apply the techniques when faced, like I said, with major decisions, and you begin to embody a heightened sense of awareness through that process, heightened sense of awareness of yourself in contrast to your conditioning, it can just be a lot of very stimulating mental information, but that's really not the point of it. The point of it is to be able to embody this knowledge such you can align with your unique sense of purpose over time through the application of the techniques that are available. Okay. So actually, Okay. Just had to take a drink there. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to quickly go over each of the different types of charts. Okay. So when we use the word chart in human design, we're talking about this body graph image. Okay. And there are a number of different charts available and therefore a number of different applications specific to the knowledge base that you can benefit from as a user. And of course, the first and foremost is referred to as the individual chart. So when you go to either the Human Design Home website or download one of the official Human Design apps, that information will be available to you when you punch in your birth data. It will spit out your individual chart. And of course, the individual chart is where it all starts. It does represent your unique DNA blueprint. Okay. As you can see here, I'm using Osho as an example. This was Osho's design. And you can see all the different gates and channels and defined centers and open centers, okay, and all the different planetary activations that were unique to Osho as a person, okay? And through studying your body graph, what it does is it reveals your unique energetic qualities, life force, and areas of vulnerability to conditioning, which is what I referred to earlier, is actually kind of one of the biggest areas of work in human design is the deconditioning component, where you're no longer giving away your personal power to conditioning that takes place through the agency of our open centers. And everybody's process is unique in that. Okay. Everybody has a different conditioning story or configuration. Okay. And yet with design, you can pinpoint it and you can really begin to work with that knowledge to help you better align with your unique sense of self. Okay. These individual charts are really important because, of course, they reveal your unique type, strategy, inner authority, and various characteristics about who you are and what makes you unique. Okay. And the job of an analyst, for example, like my job as a human design professional or worker, or, worker guide, okay, is to offer interpretation of this knowledge base because these charts actually can be read. Each individual component can be linked together to craft a story about someone's unique energy because there is underlying information associated with all of these different, what are called gates, okay, all these different numbers. If you were to click on those, it would actually expand into a data set that you can read on, okay? So it's, yeah, it's like sentences upon sentences upon sentences upon sentences with all this different context. And again, the job of the professional analyst is to help weave that information together to, yeah, really describe someone's unique qualities and characteristics, which we will do at the end of this presentation for at least one of you. I did a preparation, prep analysis, okay, to kind of show you what that sounds like. So yeah, studying your individual chart is really key. It's the beginning, sort of the beginning phase in your process with human design at any levels, of course, to come to know yourself. Okay. In addition to that, you can run what are called transit charts. So again, human design does have an astrological component to it, and no different than tuning into your favorite astrologer where they give an interpretation of the daily weather. You can also run a transit chart with human design that shows you where the planets and the nodes and the moon are currently transiting and how that energetic connection directly applies to your unique individual chart so that you can, literally read up and tune into the transit weather or the daily weather forecast. Okay. It's become more and more popular in the human design community for people to, once they have a grounding in their unique chart characteristics, qualities, design, to begin following the transits. And because, they have really significant impact on us. And like I said, it's something that I personally have done for years, where I run a transit chart and I kind of read into it. And it is quite literally like reading into the daily weather, where you can begin to attune to and feel and see expressed in your environment, especially through other people, all the different qualities of the energy as they're showing up in in the transit chart. It's really remarkable. And Will is always saying that I should record that, and I think maybe one day I will, if there's an invitation to do so, because it's spectacular. Transit charts can be really helpful for long-term transits of the outer planets, because anybody here who has, or listening, has studied astrology, you know that basically anything down from Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto can move quite slowly, and so you can have planets transiting a gate for months, if not years, and that particular impact on your unique design, and of course the collective whole, but on your unique design, can be pretty significant. And Ra used to liken it to the example of a young boy becoming interested in playing the piano during a transit where the channel of talent was activated due to a long-term transiting one of the planets, and of course engages in piano lessons and goes on for a year and a half, perfecting his ability to play the piano at a basic level. And as soon as that transit disappears, his passion, interest for playing the piano is no longer there, and it becomes more and more difficult for him to gain interest and return to his lessons. So things like that can definitely show up, and it's really remarkable. And going back to the basic practice, and the purpose of human design is to help you make decisions as yourself, not as your conditioning, because the transits are conditioning just as much as coming into contact with another person is conditioning. So it's these are all applications of the knowledge base that can help you to become more self-aware of your own energy and of your environment, and of course some of the themes happening on the collective stage as well. Okay. Yeah, so long-term plans at planets, Sun-Earth line theme of the day is another big one, seeing where the sun and the Earth are, because those two planets actually represent 70% of our unique sort of energetic quantum that we experience at any given point in time. Okay, so looking at those gates and the line themes of the day gives you a really detailed weather report. And the detail is abundant. You really could spend a week analyzing a single transit chart for a single moment in time, because there is just so much information. And so again, just to close this out, you'll see sometimes how the transits can affect us through connections in these channels or gates, and we can also affect the transits, which is really remarkable, because as this energy is passing through us and interacting with our design, certain components of our design can either fix in exaltation or detriment, which is this and that qualities of the gates, and actually have an effect on our outer environment through that transit energy passing through us. So it's pretty remarkable in how it shows not only how we're being affected, but how the world at large is affected by us in return. Now, I know this chart looks similar on the surface, but in fact, this is a connection chart. So this is another really powerful, useful, insightful, practical, can be very healing chart to use in the context of relationships. So now talking about family dynamics and relationships, okay, this is where the information becomes more relevant to that area, okay? Connection charts literally are basically composites between two people, where you bring the chart of one person and you combine it with the chart of another person, and in the middle you get the unified whole to see what channels or what energy one person brings, and the channels or the energy the other person brings, and how it mixes together within the context of the framework of BodyGraph. And there's so many different applications for it, type for type, looking to see where there may be mutual conditioning, or for example, one person is emotionally defined and the person is open emotionally, so one person is putting out the emotional waves and another person is taking in and amplifying the emotional waves. There's so many different layers that you can go into, and this is one of my passions, and an area that I have trained in is in connection chart analysis. And it does reveal the energetic dynamics of our connections with others. And it does use its own specific terminology as well to describe how we affect each other and what is activated when in proximity to one another. Okay. And yeah, it can be very helpful in the context of improving self-awareness and relationships and between friends, families, and family members and colleagues. It can have a remarkable capacity to bring a new sense of awareness, personal empathy, understanding, compassion, and think of the application between a parent and a child, understanding your child's design, understanding your own design, how you affect the child, how the child affects you. All these different things can be analyzed to, like I said before, a degree of specificity is beyond anything you would actually ever really need to feel more success in that relationship. But the information is there, and yeah, you could spend years studying it. But yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing information, and like I said before, it's really precise, and it shows areas where, okay, so you may have a fixed component that's unique to your nature, but when in contact with somebody else, that fixed component is shifted in some way, either for the better, potentially for the worse, or in a way that actually locks it and juxtapose where there becomes a tension. Okay, so it shows how we can have these deep, deep, deep energetic effects on each other, and to again see where the talents are, see where the strengths are, see what could be accomplished through the context of that relationship, at least at the level of information, okay, and the data and how it can be interpreted. And yeah, find a greater sense of harmony and empathy and compassion in the relationship, I think, is a huge, huge area of application for connection charts. Okay. There is a common sort of joke, but I think it's becoming less joke and more of a reality where people are like, well, can't you use this for dating? And it's like, yeah, well, I guess you could, and yeah, because you can see compatibility. You can almost measure compatibility between individuals and unique compatibility. So, so remember, it's like every single chart individually, and of course, when you bring two unique charts together, that relationship is going to be unique. So it's nothing about it is a generalization. Okay. At least when you go below the surface level terminology, like type. But even type can be really powerful. For example, I'm a projector and Willa is a generator, right? So we're different types. So just there in that understanding, wow, there's so much to explore and so much benefit in understanding each other's role and how we're designed to operate. Okay. These are called family charts, group charts. Another, again, remarkable application of the knowledge base where you can actually bring together 3 to 5 members of a group and actually be able to analyze the skills, strengths, and gaps in a group dynamic. Okay. These charts reveal the unique strengths and skills each individual brings to a group. And they are referred to as pentas. Pentas form when 3 to 5 members join together in close proximity to one another. And what's really remarkable about these charts and this sort of trans-auric form that is referred to in human design as penta is that it's not how do we say, it's not human. It is something greater than the individual human. Okay, it is group. It is group. It is a consciousness that develops, again, when people are in close proximity to one another, and its sole sort of focus, purpose, and priority is establishing and securing material abundance and stability. Okay, so what's really helpful in terms of being able to analyze small groups with these family charts is that it actually allows us to understand each other's roles within the group dynamic, where there may be gaps or missing skills that can impact long-term stability and material security. Okay, it is its own area of study, and like I said, groups are like entities. When you bring people together, and especially if it's in a cooperative effort, you no longer have 3 to 5 individuals, you have a group. And that group has its own focus, it has its own objective, it has its own set of priorities that is different from those objectives, priorities, and personal wants, needs, and desires at an individual level. Okay, so yeah, it's really another fascinating area of study in human design, very comprehensive. You can go really deep with it, but I think there's also just a really powerful surface level interpretive opportunity with this information too, where you can bring it into a family constellation and really look to see who's playing what role within that group. And again, like I said, what's most amazing about it is you can see where there may be missing skills or gaps in that group dynamic. Okay. I actually want to share an example because I think it's really kind of help you guys get this. Last night I was watching this interview of a gentleman who had survived an airline crash, and some of you may remember this. There's like a really bad airline crash back in the 70s in the Andes, where the pilots misjudged the descents due to really bad weather at the descent into Chile. They're flying over the Andes into Chile, and the pilots misjudged the descent and literally crashed into a mountain. And there's 45 people on board. I think ultimately like 17 actually survived the whole ordeal. But those survivors there were survivors, and the survivors of the crash ended up forming into a number of different groups, and they all had their own tasks. And then there was an avalanche that happened. And after that avalanche, it had actually unfortunately killed certain members of these sort of separate groups, forcing the separate groups of survivors to become one group of, I think there was less than 10 of them. There's only like 3 to 5 of them left. Probably 5, I think closer to 5. And listening to the man's expression and description of what it was like to be a part of that sort of final group of survivors was one of pure survival. And the only objective that they then had was not to sort of segregate or separate themselves into smaller groups, but to survive as one group and to find a way to make it out of the circumstance or the situation that they were in. And when I heard that last night, I was like, wow, that's like precisely what this information shows, is when you bring, and not say that it's only relevant to an emergency or disaster situation, but just to show like the level of concentration and the sole objective of groups in terms of this level of analysis is looking at material security and survival. Okay. And again, in terms of being able to analyze a household or a small team, it can be really powerful. It can be really, really powerful to show you who brings what to the game. And like I said, where there may be missing skills that can affect the long-term stability and material security of the group. Okay. So I know kind of an extreme example, but I heard that last night. I was like, wow, that's precisely kind of what this is. It's like all individual preferences or personal needs sort of get set aside in the context of coming together in groups, and then that group's sole focus becomes material stability and survival. Okay. And to thrive, of course, find great success is the ultimate objective. And also, I'll mention one more thing. Based on your unique design, okay, because these family charts do not take into consideration the entire chart or all the activations, gates, or channels in the entire chart, it only takes into consideration a certain number of them. You may, in fact, have a very important, powerful, and necessary skill that you bring into a group, or you may not. And it's not to say that you as an individual are not important, but what it says is that you may not actually prefer to be a part of a group, rather work more independent from groups. Okay, so that level of information can also be looked into, and yeah, not everybody's designed to sort of be a part of a group or to find security within a group. Some people are. You can map it. Okay, at least map it through the context of the human design understanding. Yes, Kelly's saying the movie. I think the movie came out in 1993. It's called Alive, and yeah, I think there's a newer movie on Netflix that the actors all spoke Spanish, so it was more sort of realistic. But yeah, just one example. So what we're going to do now is actually explore each of the types. Okay, so human design recognizes type as essentially the first layer of differentiation, or the first layer of coming to know about yourself at a unique level. Okay. Whenever you run your chart, you'll notice that your type is given in your report. It'll say that you're either a generator, a projector, a manifestor, or a reflector. Okay. And these distinct type groups are based on your unique chart configuration, and specifically, okay, it's considering the energetic centers in your design. So the centers that produce or create energy, and how that energy flows through your particular chart consistently. And as we go through each of the types, you'll see all the types are built differently. Okay. It's not just a person. This is not at all a personality profile. Okay. This is more chemical, it is more mechanical, it is far more energetic and physiological in the way that it identifies people and their unique aura and their unique energy system. Okay. Each type has a very specific role to play and strategy for navigating decisions, which guides them in making life choices that align with their true nature and, of course, ultimately their purpose, which is, the big sort of objective with the knowledge base, is to help people to align with their unique type, make decisions correctly, and over time form the correct relationships, align with the correct studies, work, and career, so that you can fulfill your unique purpose in the world. Not to say that everybody needs to have a career, but just as an example, okay? To fulfill their purpose. There are different elements of type. There's, of course, the strategy. Every single type, whether it be generators, projectors, manifestors, or reflectors, have their own unique decision-making strategy. There is a word we use for each one of the types called a signature, and signature describes sort of the feel-good reward that you can use as a signpost to measure and gauge your own personal correctness, okay? Not self-theme is a very particular term to describe how that type will likely feel internally when they are making decisions via their conditioning, aka out of alignment from their true nature. Okay. And again, even more so than signature, your not self-theme as your type is a really important signpost for you to know when you are off track and sort of, let's say, deviating a little bit too far from the unique role that you are here to play as your type. Okay. And again, it's very, very practical, very relatable. And we'll go through all of them in just a moment. Also look at the aura qualities. So each and every single type has a very specific set of terms that are used to describe someone's energy. Okay. And yeah, like I said before, types are classified based on how energy flows through their chart consistently. Some types are considered energy types, and other chart types are considered non-energy types due to the fact of the matter of how the energy flows consistently through their design. Non-energy does not mean that you don't have energy, by the way, or are incapable of producing things or being creative or taking on a leadership role or etc. It's really referring to, as you'll see, what are called the sacral dynamics, or how energy flows through the throat for manifestation. Okay. And of course, taking into consideration the defined and undefined centers. For example, the generator type will always have a defined sacral center. Projectors, manifestors, and reflectors will always have an open or undefined sacral center in their chart. So all those different elements are considered when determining someone's type. And also for you as a unique individual, learning about these things, especially in the beginning, is really key. And it gives you a great amount of insight and practical wisdom that you can apply in your everyday life to better align with your nature. Okay. Can I just check in and Kareen, Willa, Keisha, how's it going? You guys following along? Am I going too
Brilliant.
fast, too slow?
No, it's brilliant.
All right. Great. So what I'll do now is go through the different types. There are 4 types in human design, although some like to identify with manifesting generators as their own type, which is, I'll cover that after generators. So I don't argue the point. I see the legitimacy of that and the mechanical reasoning behind that. So although I'm going to cover generators and manifesting generators separately, they are sort of traditionally classified as generators. Okay. So the generators, what you'll notice about the generator chart is that they have this defined red square near the bottom. Okay. And this is referred to as the sacral center, or the primary life force motor energy center in the chart. Is extremely productive, reproductive, capable of work, sustaining relationships, committing oneself, focusing on details, and doing things with high energy, passion, and zeal in a consistent, repeatable, and reliable manner. Okay. Generators are typically referred to as the builders and doers, characterized by their sustainable life force energy. They find fulfillment in work, relationships, and activities that they love, and their strategy is to wait to respond to life's opportunities and challenges rather than initiating. Okay. In terms of conditioning, because all the different types have a sort of a conditioning backstory to them. Traditionally, generators are deeply conditioned by the manifestor type and the propaganda to initiate rather than wait. Okay. The only type in human design that's actually recognized as having the consistent energetic capacity to initiate based on their own internal sort of passions, desires, ideas is the manifestor type. And it's not, again, because it has anything to do with your personality or we'll say, I know it sounds harsh, but preferences. Okay. It's about energy and what is recognized as consistent and what is recognized as inconsistent in someone's design. Generators, by definition, will have, like I said, a very powerful defined sacral center. It is the primary life force energy within their design, but they will not have any of the energetic, what are referred to as motor centers, connected to their throat. Okay, so the throat center is the square up here. Human design recognizes manifesting as something in someone's design that's consistent to their nature when they have one of the energy centers through the context of the channel connected to the throat center. Otherwise, manifesting is inconsistent in their nature. Okay. Yeah, so all generators will have a defined sacral center, but no motor to the throat. Their strategy, just like manifesting generators, is to wait to respond. That means make decisions in reply, okay, or act in reply or in answer. And again, it is the opposite of initiating based on a good idea. It is literally waiting to be asked to do something or hear something that you really resonate to wanting to engage your energy in, engaging your response in availability in accordance to that stimulus. Okay, so it's waiting for a stimulus, and when you get that when you get that question or you hear that thing or that person asks you if you can help them, you're gauging your availability in response to tune in to whether or not you're available to actually participate and dedicate your energy. Often what happens again when generators fail to respond is typically they're trying to initiate something. And in that initiation, what often happens is they end up frustrated after a while, having to deal with things that they started because their energy is really here to master an activity to be really good at accomplishing tasks, to be the builders, the pure creatives, those that can help to really get things done in the world, okay? But they're not built or designed like a manifestor type to be able to initiate action and to bring new concepts and movements into the world. It's really something that's done in response, okay? When the generator type is feeling a sense of satisfaction, that's when they know they're on track. Okay, that's when you know that you're doing things that you love to do and you're in a relationship that you're truly available for, or engaged in a working commitment that you're truly available, as you will feel a sense of satisfaction. And it is deep, it is visceral, it is guttural, it is not in your head. Okay, it is in your body. It is a physical satisfaction that the generators are seeking as their signature. Okay. What you'll also note about generators and manifesting generators combined is that they are the majority of the population in terms of human design statistics. Generators are 35.83% of the population. That is based on over 43 million chart calculations. There are more generators and manifesting generators than there are any of the other types combined. So you could, like, actually, if you were to look at someone's chart, if you look at a chart and all the centers were defined, okay, what you'd be looking at is a emotionally defined manifesting generator. So like the archetype of humanity is to be generator, okay, is the sustainer and the builder and the pure creator of life in terms of our human experience and our human interactive experiences, okay? Without generators, our civilization would fall apart because we wouldn't have the energy to do the things that need to be done to reproduce, to care for children, to focus on details, to be productive, to build things, to create things, to sustain things, to work things out, to really focus our energy, to be available for others. You know, that would not be, none of those things would be possible without the generator life force energy. And I actually just did a whole talk on the generator type, which is on my YouTube channel. So you can go and watch that to gain a deeper appreciation for the different channels that flow from the sacral, because by identifying and coming to understand which channels you have in your design, you can actually begin to identify what you are available to do and how your energy as a generator will likely respond when asked. Okay. Yeah. So again, if you're a generator, major signpost is frustration. That's when you know you're off track. And waiting to respond. Okay. The idea is that you get to experience satisfaction in the correct use of your energy. Be wary of the conditioning and the propaganda to initiate. I know it's everywhere. It's everywhere for all types. And I say all types, sorry, not necessarily manifestors because they're designed to initiate, but for generators, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors, there is a deep propaganda to go out and try to force life to happen. And that is not at all what human design recommends in terms of an understanding of the mechanics. It is your power is activated in response, okay? And then it's limitless, basically. Or you will be able to work on a certain thing that you dedicate your energy to a certain point where you're no longer available to energetically work on it, okay? But as long as you enter into that commitment through response, look out. You're a powerhouse, okay? Generators are amazing. Some of the best athletes, creatives, producers, mechanics, owner operators, you name it. Those who are real standout, accomplished people in the world are often generators. Okay, you'll see that just due to the fact that the energy is so capable, and yet the energy can become so deeply frustrated. Okay, by the propaganda of initiation rather than collaboration and response. Okay. So moving along to the manifesting generators. Manifesting generators are different from the generators, because what you'll see when you look at somebody's design that's a manifesting generator is not only do they have a defined sacral center or this primary life force energy in their design, but they will also have direct connection to the throat center, which is the outlet of action taking, expression, manifestation, communication, to one of the other energy centers, whether it be the root, sacral heart center, or the solar plexus. Okay. Like I said before, manifesting as a term in human design is given to those who have a consistent access to it within their own nature by having an energy center connected to the throat. So when you get manifesting generators, you get super impressive individuals who not only can do things and respond to things, but they can also manifest and take action and be very powerful and impactful communicators. Okay. They are essentially a hybrid of generators and manifestors, combining the power to materialize with the ability to respond and adapt. They are typically fast-paced, efficient, and multi-talented, often juggling multiple projects and interests. They can be excellent multitaskers, albeit sometimes skipping steps along the way. Okay. The manifesting generator energy can be incredibly impressive in what it can accomplish in a single day, but it can also skip steps along the way and have to go back and pick up the pieces and start again. Okay. Because with the classic generator, the pure generator, you have a step-by-step mastery in the fulfillment of your life's purpose. With a manifesting generator, what you often see is this sort of jack of all trades capacity to be good in a lot of different areas, but maybe not necessarily a master of any of them. And for manifesting generators, it's very natural to be great multitaskers, like I said, and to have multiple interests. And it's less about being pinned down doing one particular thing every single day. It can be that you enjoy doing 5 or 6 different things in one day, and the sum total of all those different activities bring you a sense of satisfaction in your process. Now, the open and enveloping aura that is so consistent to the generator type, or is a descriptor of the generator type in terms of how it's applied to manifesting generators. Essentially, what you see is people who are designed to be busy and active every single day of their lives, okay, in one way, shape, or another. Again, like generators, pure generators, we're looking at an energy type, the fact that we have definition in one of the energetic centers, okay? So again, just think about it. If you're a manifesting generator, you're here to enjoy and find satisfaction through the work you do, and also through how you communicate and take action in the world. Okay. You can be a really great public speaker, maybe a really great author. You might be really great at sports that require a high level of hand-eye coordination and high dexterity, and you can do it over and over and over and over again, and find great satisfaction in that process. You'll see here in this chart, I've got these different channels highlighted because it shows some of the different potential pathways of energy. It's always a bit of an adventure in analyzing a manifesting generator's chart to see where the energy flows through the different centers and how it ultimately makes it to the throat, because you can have so many different configurations that qualify someone as a manifesting generator is not always apparently evident on the surface. Okay. And again, looking at about 30.44% of the population. So slightly less than pure generators, but still, again, part of the majority. Okay. Okay, so moving on to my type group, because I'm a projector. I'm not a generator or a manifesting generator, although my conditioning has led me to believe that I am. Okay. The projectors are about 22.58% of the population. So we're looking at now a minority of the population in comparison to the generator type. There are way less projectors in the world than there are generators, okay? Projectors are very unique in their design because what you'll notice first and foremost is that unlike generators, all projectors will have an undefined or open sacral center. And this sacral center, which is the white square down here, represents, like I said before, life force, availability, and the capacity to be consistently productive. Whereas with projectors, because it's undefined, that's not our mode. We are not here to be life's most productive individuals. We're here to be guides, advisors, okay, gifted with the ability to see deeply into others and systems. Projectors are deeply conditioned to become overzealous workaholics, like what, conditioned to be what generators are naturally, which for us shows up as an amplified overzealous workaholic like behavior, okay, when really we are designed to be invited into situations whereby we can provide our guidance, expertise, wisdom, talents, skills, and capacity to recognize other people with our very focused and absorbing one-on-one kind of aura, okay? Like I said, projectors are the natural guides and advisors, gifted with the ability to see deeply into others and systems. Their strategy is to wait for invitations that recognize them for their unique qualities and characteristics that, like I said, are not to do with generative work. Projectors are to be invited into situations whereby their energy is recognized for what it is, combined with their capacity to guide or lead the group, not to be responsible for the productive labor or the working tasks necessary to get things done. Projectors are far more better suited energetically to basically be managers, okay? Managers, leaders, administrators, guides, okay? Part-time experts. And the strategy of waiting for invitations, what is this all about? Because we don't have that moment-by-moment responsibility like a generator does, our strategy for navigating life is to wait to be invited into situations whereby we can benefit from healthy energetic connections with other people, okay? Whereby we are literally invited to take in other people's energy and be recognized for the channels that we do carry in terms of our unique gifts and talents. Yeah, it's different from the generator strategy because it's not every day that projectors receive invitations. Invitations as a decision-making strategy are for big things like being invited into a relationship, being invited to study something, being invited to move somewhere, being invited into a career that, again, complements your unique talents and gifts and capacity to guide as a projector, okay? And yet, of course, one of the challenges that the projector type faces is they often experience exhaustion and resentment when they know about laborers, okay? Their role is relatively new to society. Generators and manifestors and reflectors have been around for a long time in terms of what human design teaches, whereas the projector type is relatively new. And it is a leadership style that is more democratic and elected versus the manifestor leadership style, which is more about initiating and conquering and taking and claiming their rightful place. Okay. Projectors are not designed to operate like that at all. They need to be recognized, invited. And in that, it also means that if you are a projector or you know someone is a projector, let's say your child is a projector, it's really important to understand basically what channels they have and what their unique skills are and their unique talents are as a projector, and to help them develop those areas through it's often recommended formal study of something or developing a certification or something that they can be recognized like a trade, okay? That again, like I said, helps them to avoid the because and I've experienced this personally, the sort of damage that can be done to your own personal well-being through becoming a laborer. Um, there's just nothing more incorrect than a projector on the floor of a factory for 30 years of their life. Okay. It's not where the projector energy is meant to be. And yet, like I said, conditioning, okay, as a very powerful thing in our experience of the world may and often does force projectors into work lifestyles where they try to keep up with the energy types. even though their job is to be a leader, a guide, or part-time specialist. Okay. And like I said, the tip and the trick is to help young projectors develop a skill set that they can be recognized for and invited to share rather than being sort of pigeonholed into labor. Okay. Projectors end up bitter. That's their not self theme is bitterness. Bitterness is different from frustration. It's not as when a generator is frustrated, you can feel it. You can feel their aura, and they're frustrated. It's evident. Bitterness for projector is like a sourness, and this sourness again is often associated with, like I said, sacral conditioning and exhaustion, and this word resentment, where projectors do things thinking that it's going to get them recognition, but they end up not getting recognition for what they just did, even though what they just did, they shouldn't have done in the first place because they were invited to do it. They're more capable of being the guides and helping other people accomplish the task rather than taking it on and laboring and working away and slaving away, trying to get things done, themselves. Now they're bitter, exhausted, woe is me, and wondering why their life is falling apart. Okay. Trust me, I've been there. And I have quite a few projector friends. It's a common story. And I've worked with a number of different projectors in my practice. If you are a projector, you're here to be a leader and a guide that is recognized for the unique abilities and talents, who can help others understand how to better use and manage their energy. Okay, rather than trying to get caught up in being someone who expends a lot of your own personal energy trying to be like the other types. Okay. When projectors are operating correctly as their type and they're in relationships or in a working dynamic or working exchange where they've been invited and are recognized to share who they are with those that they're working with, success, ooh, the sweetness of success is theirs to claim. That is the signature of the projector type. Okay. And success is relative, obviously, to you as a unique individual. But, the definition of success is like the accomplishment of an aim, task, purpose. And that is achieved through the agency of the other that the projector is managing, guiding, teaching, advising, or offering advice to. Okay. Projectors are non-energy types. Not here to manifest and initiate consistently like a manifestor. And we're not here to work, do like generators. We're somewhere in between. And like I said, ideally projectors are designed, to be invited, recognized, and brought into a group so that they can function from the outside looking in, identifying who's who and what's what, and help to provide managerial or strategic advice to help better the situation. Okay. Yeah, again, if you're a projector type in your design, just be wary and mindful of exhaustion. You can't afford to live a life of exhaustion, and be mindful of the tendency and the conditioning pressure to want to work, do it all yourself. Okay. And if you find yourself in either of those positions, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's encouraged that you begin to, again, put into practice some of the information that you've learned today about your design so that you can better position yourself for invitations that bring you into the mold, bring you into the fold, to the group, so that you can lead the group rather than being responsible for doing all the things that are necessary for sustaining the group. Okay. It's a different role. It's different, it's a different role, it's a different strategy, it's a different level of availability. And yeah, success is sweet, and it's for you to experience. And it's the kind of success, again, with a projector where if you can provide advice to your children, or you can provide advice to your spouse, or you can provide advice when invited to a group, okay, and that group or that other benefits and they experience more success in their life, bingo. Okay. That's the whole dynamic. And there's no one more appropriately suited for the role or the position than the projector type, okay? When they are clear within themselves and they're operating with healthy boundaries, which is a huge thing for the projector, because projectors, not self strategy of the undefined sacral is not knowing when enough is enough, okay? Where you just keep going and going and going and going and going, and then you crash and you're out for years, right? We need our projectors, and we need them operating correctly in a way where they're recognized for their talents and not just burnt out, exhausted, and bitter about everything. Because, yeah, like I said, success is transpersonal in its nature. It's meant to be shared, not hoarded. Okay. Manifestors. So the manifestor type in human design is less than 10%. Manifestors are a very unique type in the human design system. There's, you know, there's so much that could be said about the role and the ability of the manifestor design and the sort of impact that it has had on our world history. Manifestors are the archetypal leaders, initiators, and trailblazers, possessing the unique ability to initiate action and bring new ideas into fruition without needing to wait for external cues. Remember, generators are designed to wait to respond so that they can access their availability and power and creative potential in reply to a question. Projectors have to wait for invitations based on other people recognizing their unique gifts and talents and actually wanting them to come into the fold and offer the group the advice that they so desire. Manifestors do not operate by any of those rules at all. Okay. Manifestors are the only type that are literally designed to be almost entirely independent in their capacity for initiating, action taking, and manifesting in the world. They are meant to inform others before taking action to ensure smooth interactions and avoid resistance. And I just want to say, I know I'm sharing a lot of information with you guys today. Okay. I'm sharing this information. You're going, wow, that's interesting. Wow, it resonates. I'm not sure about that. You'll begin to get this stuff once you start to run the charts of people that you know and you have a look and see where your manifestors are or who your projectors are or who your generators are. And you begin to consider these qualities and characteristics as they apply to that unique individual, you'll see it. It's so obvious, okay, that you would have to have a blindfold on not to see it, okay? The manifestor type, okay, has a closed and repelling, impactful aura. They are not open and enveloping like generators, and they are not focused and absorbing like projectors. Like I said, manifestors are here to create. They are here to initiate. They are here to have the energy to lead and to claim their leadership positions through their own actions and through their own initiative efforts. You'll see that, like projectors, they have an undefined or open sacral center, so they're not here to work, labor, or be responsible for high energy output reproductivity like the generator type, but they have an energy center connected to the throat center. That is the one thing that you'll always see consistent about the manifestor type in their design, is that they will always, 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 always have a defined throat center, and that defined throat center will be connected to an energy center. And the energy center, again, it's like energy flowing to the throat for communication and action taking. Often giving manifestors a very powerful voice. You'll often notice that their speaking can have a tremendous impact on you, and what they say can move mountains, right? Yeah, their job is literally to initiate and have an impact in the world, and they do that through their speaking and action taking. Okay. Like I said, they have a closed, repelling aura. Manifestors can be hard to access. So if you have a manifestor child, that manifestor child can be difficult to access. They are not like generators or projectors. And the last thing a manifestor everyone ever wants to experience is the experience of being controlled or told what to do. It is recommended in dealing with or interacting with manifestors that you speak to them as though everything you're saying to them is informing them of what's going on rather than telling them or trying to control their actions, because you are likely to get a reaction from them that will be more or less one in which you never hear from them ever again. Okay? Because, yeah, like I said, the manifestor energy, they are the pure independence. And they need to be nurtured from a young age to love themselves at that level and to understand that is their strength, to be independent and to have the capacity to initiate and be creative and be a leader and claim their place in the world and to initiate actions and not be stifled or held back. Okay. It's yeah, of course, just like all the other types, you can get very conditioned manifestors that end up extremely angry. Okay. And anger is the not self theme for the manifestor. Okay. And we're talking about like visceral, verbal, shouting, screaming, uh, piss off, leave me alone kind of anger. Can be very damaging in its effect on other people. Um, I remember I served at a wedding venue for a while, and our manager was a manifestor, and she was like 5'1", maybe like 110 pounds soaking wet. And I knew she was a manifestor because she was kind of into human design. And so I knew that she was a manifestor. But oh my God, you would not believe the impact that she had on the room when she was sort of angry or pissed off or something wasn't going according to plan. Boy, oh boy, did we ever hear about it. Right. So it's like, in using that example, I'm trying to illustrate the fact here that the energy within us is it matches the types, and it doesn't matter how big or small you are. You can have an impact and fulfill the role of your type, even if it from the outside looking in doesn't seem like that's how the energy uh, within you would actually operate. But yeah, she just amazing the capacity that she had to inform and communicate, take charge and lead the group. And like I said, 5 foot nothing, 110 pounds soaking wet, and yet she would lead us through the whole night and get us where we needed to go and let us know when we were off track. And yeah, when the manifestor themselves, because like I said, manifestors, you can't tell a manifestor what to do. When they themselves come to accept and begin to experiment with their strategy of informing others about the actions that they're going to take before they take them, what it does is it eliminates a lot of fear in others. Because again, that's where the whole control thing comes from, is the manifestor type is controlled out of fear of what they're going to do, because they can come across as relatively unpredictable, because they have the energy to do whatever it is that they want to do, basically. Okay. They're not held back by the limitations per se of the other types. And so if manifestor wants to get up one day and walk out of school and never come back to school, you better believe that they have the capacity to do that, or like walk out of the house and go to the store by themselves at the age of 6. Yeah, they're going to do that. And again, that's when the whole control mechanisms start to pile on top of the manifestor to try and keep them contained from doing things that are unpredictable from a very young age, but it can just really drive them into deep anger and yeah, set them up for a situation where they refuse to inform people. They just basically live like a secret life, and they don't tell people what they're going to do before they do it. They just go out and do it. Whereas if you're a manifestor, it's encouraged that you begin to practice and experiment, just considering the people that your decisions are going to impact before you make decisions. Okay. And the more people that you can inform before you take action of something that you're going to do, the better. Because what it does is it sets up expectations and it helps people. And of course, there's the whole argument, well, if I tell people what I'm going to do before I do it, are they going to try and control me? experiment is, and in my observation and the revelations of many manifestors, is actually the opposite effect, is that you begin to develop trust, understanding, and awareness in your relationship so that other people don't just try to blindly control you and prevent you from doing something unexpected or impactful out of anger on the other person. Okay. And so again, this whole informing before acting, what it does is it sets you up for living a life of peace, where you can go about your daily business and take action and travel where you want to travel and be who you want to be and say what you want to say when you want to say it, um, in a way that, again, brings peace and harmony and quietude, tranquility into your environment, where you can just whittle away on your craft and not be bothered and just enjoy that process. Yeah. So again, if you're a manifestor, you have a manifestor in your life, especially if they're a child, control and the conditioning of being controlled, and that's a big thing to address. And again, if you're a parent of a child who's a manifestor, not being unreasonable in your rules is really important, and just doing your best to try and educate them and make them feel comfortable in communicating what it is that they want to do before they do it. So at least and you don't have to, put on all these control mechanisms artificially to stop them out of fear. Okay. And as I'm describing this too, you're noticing that there's this depth to the types that is not just superficial and describing all the types as like, oh wow, manifestors can manifest, therefore they must be the best person in the world and so peaceful. And no, not at all. In reality, like I said at the beginning of this presentation, is most of us are deeply conditioned and we live conditioned lives as our types. And the conditioning plus our type creates the not self theme, and we live out frustration, bitterness, anger, disappointment. And it's like getting beyond that experience and being able to live into satisfaction, success, peace, and surprise comes through the application of your strategy as your type. Okay. Generators, wait to respond so that you can use your pure creative power in response. Okay. Projectors, wait for invitations so that you're not forcing yourself into relationships where your advice is not regarded, okay, or taken in and appreciated, and you're just left bitter. Manifestors, inform before you take action so that you can bring peace to your environment and quell the fears of others who are uncertain of what you're going to do next and will try to control you otherwise, okay? All these different strategies help us to find our signature and help us to find our unique place and role in the world, as like a beginning layer, because it's like the purpose and fulfillment of your life's work comes as a result of operating correctly as your type. Okay. And all the other details, purpose, incarnation, cross, etc., come as a result of that. Okay. And last but not least, reflectors. So reflectors are very unique. They are less than 2% of the population. Reflectors are very rare, relatively speaking. You will notice that when you look at a reflector chart, there are no defined centers. This is basically what a chart will look like if it's a reflector chart. Reflectors are essentially said to be the mirrors of the human design types. They have a unique design that allows them to reflect the health and well-being of their communities. They can be and often are highly sensitive to their environment and are encouraged to wait a lunar cycle that is a full cycle of the moon before making major decisions. So 29 and a half days before making major decisions so that they can sample a consistent, remember how I was talking about transit charts? Okay, so for the reflector type, mapping the lunar impact of the transits over a month can give the reflector type a sense of stability, because as you can imagine, having this much openness in your design, it can feel very unstable, and constantly bringing in and reflecting back the energies and the emotions and the mental environment that you're ensconced within can have a very destabilizing effect on the reflector. So giving them the strategy of waiting a full lunar cycle to be able to basically sample their own unique version of consistency in their life is really important. At a practical level, again, if you have a reflector child or you're in a relationship with a reflector, because the reflector has an undefined G center, it's often said that being in the correct place is really important for them, whether it be a room or an office or a place that you travel to every day. Um, being in a correct environment that doesn't place a lot of demands on your energy, on your time, is really important for the reflector type. Um, like I said, they're different from all the other types because they have no channel definition or center definition in their chart. So they're always taking in and mirroring back the energies of other people. That's why they're described as having a sampling and reflective or mirroring aura. Yeah, they can make excellent judges of character. Ideally, sort of the reflector role is to be objective, meaning that they can sort of measure and see things for what they are and to assess a situation. Kind of like if you're having difficulties in your business and you don't know why, it's really great and you want to learn why, it would be really great to bring a reflector into the environment so that they can assess the situation objectively and provide you advice onto what or who needs to be done or better or replaced in order to make or added in order to make the situation more healthy. Yeah. So I have a few reflector friends. They're very interesting people. Um, you wouldn't necessarily know that they're a reflector unless you run their chart. There's nothing particular about a reflector design that has ever really stood out to me as being like, oh, wow, they're totally a reflector. Um, of course, with this much openness, remember, like I said, openness is the access point or the receptivity to conditioning. Reflectors can be incredibly conditioned and are basically saved by the fact that their aura is very sampling and reflective, meaning that even though they are taking in other people's energy all the time, it's kind of like Teflon. It comes in and out, in and out, in and out, and doesn't have as deep of a conditioning impact, in fact, as it does on the other types of open or undefined centers. But yeah, pretty rare. Like I said, about 1.5% of the population. You're less likely to see a reflector chart, let alone meet one in your life. Again, like I said, I have a number of reflector friends because I'm a part of a larger human design community. So who's actually led by a reflector? Because like I said, reflectors can be excellent hubs or a central focus of a community. Okay. And they have an amazing gift of being able to reflect the health and well-being of their communities and to assess that health and well-being and reflect it back to people so that they can know objectively, what is so. Okay. Okay, so that's all the types. Gone through the generators, manifesting generators, projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. I'm now open to just a general discussion, Q&A. If there's anything you guys want to share, any personal insights or sort of epiphanies that have popped up for you, especially if you know your design, having taken in this information now, if there's anything you'd like to share about understanding your type, that'd be open to that. And yeah.
Go ahead, Kate.
Hi, Ryan. I was just wondering how the categories are, how the categories, sorry, so how the categories are determined. How do you do the test? What's it based on? Is it based on your birth chart, or
Yes. It's based on
is
the
that
birth.
solely based on your birth chart?
Yes.
Okay, so what if you don't know the time of your birth? Does that matter?
It matters to a certain extent, yes. Nowadays, it's a lot easier because we have what the professional software allows us to scan through the day to see if there's any major changes in the chart.
Okay.
Yeah, but it does. It's
So
based.
how would give me an example of what the difference it could make, please?
Okay, so let's say that you were in fact born at 5 o'clock in the morning, but you didn't know that and you ran your birth chart at 12 o'clock p.m. Okay. In that period of time from 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. that same day, because the charts, like I said, are based off of an astrological calculation, it's like a Swiss watch. Everything's always moving, and we're looking for that exact position of the planets in time relative to your birth time to gain that accurate information. However, for example, the moon, which moves quite fast through the mandala, the moon can switch into from one gate to a next, and in switching from one gate, that's the numbers, to the next, it would actually either define or leave open one of the centers, like I said before, that actually characterizes as a type for what they are. So for example, a projector, so we have a projector chart here, okay? And let's say they were actually born at 5 o'clock in the morning, and with that accurate information, the chart reveals that they're projector. But if they were to wait or just guesstimate and say, oh, I think I was born at 12, the moon may have moved to a different position, which would have activated a different gate and brought definition to their sacral center, which actually would have then classified them as a generator. Do you
So if you
understand?
don't know, then there's, I mean, my mother's passed on. It's not recorded on my birth certificate. There's no way for me to find out as far as I know. So there's no way that I can get an accurate reading. Is that what you're saying?
You can get like a time rectification through a skilled astrologer, and or you can submit your data to someone like myself when we can use our software to scan to see if there's any major changes throughout the day, because sometimes there are none. Like sometimes the day that you were born, for that whole 24-hour period, the type will not have changed, but sometimes it does, based on
So
this.
that means you could be either or something. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying? Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it's important, and it's one of the things that's encouraged with human design is if you have an interest in it, and you know someone else who has an interest in it that may be pregnant, encouraging pregnant mothers to have someone there to record accurate birth time. And timing with human design is recognized as when the child is separate from the mother in space, not when the umbilical cord is cut. So like I said, you can get very, very, very precise with it down to the seconds. And again, that information will provide an even more precise chart at the deeper levels. But
What happens when a child is born through medical intervention? Like they arrive before than they would have done naturally, so they were induced or they're cesarean or something. Is it actually the time is it affect you the time you actually come out the birth canal, or your time of conception? What's the difference there?
yeah, it's the time that the child is separate from the mother in space. So when the body of the child is separate from the body of the mother at that moment. Yeah, regardless of whether it was a natural birth or induced birth or early childbirth. Okay.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Again, the reason is that we're looking at a calculation that considers that moment in time as sort of the personality or soul level imprinting of that child that is now separate from the womb of their mother. So they are now in the world, and they in that moment take in the energetic imprinting that becomes the consistency of their personality life force for their whole life. It's
Well, I
yeah,
have another question.
yeah, go ahead, please.
I really appreciate the uniqueness, how we're all unique, and how it's very important for us to understand that and appreciate not only that for ourselves, but in a group or a family, communicating with other people.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering how is it when you let me give an example. I've done the Myers-Briggs personality test 3 times in my life, and I've come out 3 separate ways, quite similar, but actually quite different. But actually that reflected my life and my being at the time. So for example, the first time I did it, I would have been over 30 years ago, and I came out as a dreamer, which it stunned me. It's a because I did it in a large group of people I was working with, and I could understand, oh, this is why I feel really different from everybody else. It's because I am, you know. Everyone else is so much more practical than me. And the next time I did it, I came out as an adventurer, which was also very reflective of my life at the time. I was doing a lot of traveling. I was doing a lot of spiritual retreats, doing a lot of practices, especially ones that move energy around. And the last time I did it was quite recently. I came out as a confidant, which is also reflective of my life at the time, because I do a lot of it's TAT, it's energy, it's a trauma resolution technique. It involves connecting with your energy body via acupressure. And so the confidence sort of accurately affects, that's a big part of my life at the moment. And I'm just wondering, you're saying this chart, we're so completely fixed from the time we separated from mother, but are there ways that this can our energy path can change and our things develop over time?
Yes, so it's a common question. It's been a question that's been asked many, 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 many times. And basically, first and foremost, you got to recognize that although there is a fixed imprinting, even within the context of that information base, some of the gates, channels, or what we call centers will evolve over time. For example, there's a particular line, the 6-line quality of a person. If you have a 6-2 profile, your personality is guaranteed to evolve through 3 distinct phases in life. Okay. There's movement and there's energetic maturation that occurs within the context of all of the channels, you see. Okay. It's not as fixed and rigid as one may think. And also, like I said early in the presentation, the transits have an effect on us. Who we're around has an effect on us. Okay. And coming to understand those differences and those nuances is something that can be understood over time when you read into your chart. But
okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks.
You're welcome. You know, it's a great question because it's something that a lot of people wonder about. I've wondered about, like, how is it that there's this, you know, fixed rigidness to one's personality when we're these mutative, evolving, conscious creator beings. And you know, it's like there's this base level imprinting that is consistent and with you your whole life. And then there's the energy we take in from others and how that impacts us. It may impact that energy that you are consistently, but there is still that consistency. And again, with design, there is an emphasis and an encouragement to sort of return to recognizing those consistent qualities and to lean into them as our strengths. Because the conditioning or that which is transient or only experienced through relationship with the other is sort of identified as unreliable in terms of how we can measure or gauge our own personal decisions. So I hope that helps. It's a great question. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Michael?
Michael. Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you, Ryan. Amazing information. I was introduced 6 weeks ago or 7 weeks ago, so it's an amazing tool, you know, more than anything. Mine was just confirming, especially how I feel, you know. And so I have 2 questions. One, that undefined spot, once you realize by our objective and by our consistent, can we define them? Or are they already open for any condition?
They are open for any conditioning, and it's conditioning through another person who has it defined. So, for example, do you know your type?
Yeah, I'm a 1/3 manifestor ego.
You're a manifestor. So,
yeah.
Okay. So as a manifestor, you'll have an undefined or open sacral center. It's the generators in your life, for those of the generator type, that will condition that center and empower that area for you. When you're around them, it becomes activated, becomes conditioned, becomes a part of your nature. But as soon as you're distanced from the generator type, that center is basically no longer as active or amplified as it would be in the presence of another. So no, you cannot make consistent what you have white or open in your chart, but you can learn through those centers about other people who have them defined. Okay. And that's a whole area of study in human design, is learning how to derive the wisdom and the intelligence. For example, as a manifestor, like we said, you're a natural born leader, and with an undefined sacral, that would give you the wisdom potential to understand those around you that do or do not have the capacity to get done the tasks that may need to be done to achieve an objective or a project. You see? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my second question is, I am using a lot of time to narrow down muscle test. Is muscle test can help to narrow down the minute or the hour you are born or not?
I can't confirm or deny that. The only thing that I could say about birth time accuracy is, like I said, I can run it with my software to scan to see if there are any major changes in the day, and then go through what I've done in the past is go through a bit of an interview process if it's necessary to determine what may be the exact configuration of that type. Also, it's recommended you could go to an astrologer to try and get a birth time rectification, but yeah, other than that, it's both a strength and a weakness of the system. It's very precise because the birth time is necessary, and also at the same time, if you don't have it, and you're just guessing, the information can not necessarily be as precise and accurate and truthful. But yeah, that's all I can really say about it.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for your question.
Jared, I think you had your hand raised.
Yeah. Hey, so I saw that Willa, I think, posted early on in the chat your Telegram channel. In case anyone missed it, maybe Willa, if you wouldn't mind posting that again, or also you have a YouTube channel, which I've found there's lots of really in-depth information on a lot of this that Ryan hasn't gotten into. So I think people should really check out his YouTube channel too. Of course, his website he has listed right here for contact, and that's another way to reach him. And then after I got a foundational reading through Ryan, which I was very grateful for. It's very interesting and gives you quite a bit of information. And then he suggested that I go to the Google Play Store, which I did, and I got the Neutrino Design app, which you can see on his thing here. Yeah, right there. And oh my gosh, you could be there for weeks. And by the way, there is actually an area within that application that you can, on a slider, and we're talking hour by hour through days and weeks and months, figure out like birth time. So like, I'm not sure within 12 hours of my birth time, I always thought it was in the AM, but some other information came along that says it was in the PM. So there's a portion in the app that you can take a slider, and then you just slide it on over, and as you're sliding it, everything is changing. So what's kind of interesting about that is I think within everyone has areas and aspects that they find, oh yeah, that's me. And then they go, that doesn't sound like me at all. Well, within the other design types, I've definitely found some areas that I'm like, that's definitely me. And so it allows you to explore that if you don't know your exact birth time, and to just explore other people's types and more information that's out there. So I thought the Neutrino Design app in the Google Play Store it's so much, it's so comprehensive, but you can put in your own chart, and then you can put in other people's charts, and you can start to explore that way and save those and whatever. But so anyway, that's all I had to say. Thank you, Ryan and Willa. You guys are amazing.
Thanks, Jared.
Really, yeah.
Yes, the Neutrino Design app. I'm a featured analyst on the app. I'm actually starting to put together a whole tutorial series for that app. It is, like Jared said, very comprehensive. It is the most detail about each and every single component of a chart that you're going to get in an app. Traditionally, the way human design has been disseminated is that there are textbooks and study material that the professionals study, and then there's the software for the charting. But it's taken this entire time for there to be a merger where you have basically the same level of quality information that you'd find in the textbooks also integrated directly into the charting software, so that you can click on something, expand it, read up about what it means and how it specifically applies to you. And it's a great tool for those who are interested and curious to learn more about their design. So, yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jared. Any other questions? I know we're at an hour and 40, almost an hour and 50 minutes now. So, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. I did prepare something for Kareen. I don't know, Kareen, if you wanted to because I do have a bit of a reading for you.
Yes.
Because we demonstrate. I told you we were demonstrate sort of some synthesis work as well. So I did it based on the birth time that you provided me. However, I did scan throughout the day, and there were not any major changes that I could identify. And I also, any of the minor changes, I just kind of left out of the interpretation. But did you want me to read that now, or did you want that privately, or? Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm just going to stop sharing this. Let's see. So let me bring it back here. Can you guys see this screen now? It's the charting software.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So I have the birth data for you. Port-au-Prince, Haiti, 9th of June, 1978 at 12:45. Okay. Great.
Okay.
That's your birthday, right?
Yeah, that's my birthday. It's actually 12:35, but I don't think there's major change if it's 10 minutes later.
Yeah, there wouldn't be. So today, what I sort of share with you guys in terms of the type information is relatively surface level. As you can see, obviously, by just looking at one of these charts, there is a ton of detail. Okay. Every single component of a chart, whether it be a center or a gate, or it's called a channel, contains deep, specific, consistent information. Okay. For example, this channel that runs between the ajna center and the throat center is called the channel of acceptance, a design of an organizational being. It's a very logical mental energy that has an amazing capacity to organize groups and other people around the use of detail. So we could say, when looking at Kareen's chart, is that the way in which she communicates her concepts to others and shares her logic with the collective is done through the context of very detailed forms of communication. So it's like she has a very detail-oriented mind, and she has the capacity to communicate things in a very detail-oriented way. Okay. These kind of details, when you link them together or you string them together, can actually begin to describe, like a storybook, someone's unique energetic nature beyond the simple labeling of type or aura. Okay, you can actually begin to weave together the various components And like I've said before, this is basically an example. This is a shortened example of the sort of work that I engage with as an analyst, is the art of interpretation, where I'm weaving together the various components to describe someone's nature. So in analyzing your chart, Karine, I have written up a bit of a synthesis of the energy as I see it, where each and every single component can be linked back to your chart. You see, I'm not making it up. I'm just linking it together to try and make it make sense. Okay, so do you want to hear what I wrote? See if it resonates
Oh,
with you?
yes. Yes, I do want to say it's not so much to have a focus on me. It's that, one thing that I really appreciated when we're having a Zoom, Keisha, Bet, and I with you, with Willa and yourself, is that you were talking about activation. And I know for a long time in my life, I wanted someone to actually activate me, because I was just like, hey, what's this life thing? And when I started listening to, because Jared posted the conference one, and then 2027, when you're talking about that and all that. And I was just listening to you talk, and I was like, he has a really interesting voice. I just feel really activated listening to him, like explaining the types. It just feels so clear. So I thought that it would be a nice experience to just have a sample, let's say, of what you actually do, as an analyst.
Well, this is a great example. What I'm about to read to you. Like I said, it's called synthesizing. It's where you link together all the individual component parts to craft a story about someone's design that is an interpretation of the energy. So you help it to make sense. Okay. So should we get into it? Start reading. Okay, so Karine, according to your design, you are a natural networker, someone who embodies the ability to lead your tribe with a bold and socially graceful demeanor. You oscillate between the need for solitude and, when called, the need for direct connection and friendly relationships. In response, because you're a manifesting generator, you have the availability to fully commit yourself to shared collective endeavors like a project or a new venture, discovering your true power and identity through perseverance, serendipity, and sheer determination. Okay, with an innocent spirit and willful heart, maintaining your center even in the face of shock, like a spiritual warrior who jumps into the unknown and is called to face challenges alone. In support of your tribe, you seek solutions that can be transmitted and applied to solve collective problems, helping to correct what needs to be corrected with a taste for action and application of what you understand. Your intuition is attuned to establishing logical depth with which you can then share and support those within your network when you open yourself as a social being with a logical mind suitable for organizing others with the discipline necessary for detail work. Your unique gifts will come across as a blend of boldness when called and the need for networking, with a powerful responsibility to fully commit yourself and stay centered even in the face of challenges and shocks, resonating to logical solutions that can be transmitted to others, like sharing or selling them on a new, good idea in such a way that can be socially impactful and organized by your logical mind and natural ability to gather together with others and lead the members within your domain. You have a natural ability to lead. You are a born leader, and as a born leader through the context of education and the sharing of logical solutions that can be applied to the collective to help better the collective. Okay. Your special talents will manifest as a combination of assertiveness when necessary and a passion for connecting with others, establishing relationships through your networks, through friends, and through acquaintances and people that are recommended to you, or people that you need to connect with in order to externalize your vision or your goal. You possess a strong sense of duty to fully engage and remain composed amidst obstacles and surprises, gravitating towards logical solutions that can be effectively communicated and transmitted to others, kind of like what we're doing today, or everything you're doing with the REEF. Okay. This ability will likely place you in a position of having a meaningful social impact, sign of a social being, and guided by your logical thinking, and inherent leadership qualities, allowing you to unite and organize those within your sphere of influence. Under pressure, okay, so now this is a little bit about the conditioning, okay? Under pressure, you may find that you rush and overthink things, which can throw off your sense of timing and place and peace and pace, leading to frustration. Learning how to slow down, take your time, wait for emotional clarity, and watching out from when your mind is actively seeking to answer other people's questions can help you to experience a greater sense of satisfaction. You don't have to rush around trying to solve every dilemma or mental quandary emanating from somebody else's mind, okay? So how did that land for you?
That is so accurate to the finest details. Actually, there was something that was like, yeah, recently I faced a challenge. I'm like, oh, that's what it was. I was rushing to answer so many questions at the same time. But I also, like a good friend of mine just said, yeah, Karine, you're not born to follow. And he informed me, really. It was Mikael. He but he was really just right on point. And you as well, of course. And yeah, there's many people coming in the chat were saying like, yeah, so accurate. That is so my experience with her. So yes, I'm just really glad that we've been able to really see you in action and see how it can be really helpful.
Yes, and of course, everything I said was like a creative interpretation. I could rewrite that whole thing again in sort of a different way and combine different components in a different way, and it would still speak to you, right? That's the wonder of the chart, is you can enter in at almost any point and begin to synthesize the components. And you can also sort of zoom out and just look at the bigger picture and say, wow, Karine, you're a manifesting generator. You're here to have impact through the work that you engage in. And when you're satisfied, you're on track. When you're frustrated, when it's time to maybe pull back your reserves, your energy, okay? You could also look at your chart and see how your emotional or solar plexus center through the channel of openness, the design of a social being, is connected to your throat center. So when you speak from your emotions, and your emotion brings a tremendous power and quality to your voice, right? You're here
Yeah.
to communicate, and you're here to communicate in a way that's filled with passion and a social openness and concern for the empowerment of other individuals. Okay. Could also be you could be musically talented or have a great capacity for public speaking. Okay. And at the same time, you can see your mind is also connected to your throat, and you have a very logical, let's organize all the details and let's get people to follow my plan, right? You're not a follower, but you're designed to have followers, the gate of following. Okay. It's basically to organize the group, okay, to be able to lead the group, to educate the group, and to have social impact through your communication, right? So it's all, there she is, right? And at the
Yeah,
same,
another thing that I really love as well is that it helps you laugh a lot about situation instead of really being stuck in frustration. Like when I one of the first, well, maybe not the first, but when I knew that I was emotional authority, I was like, okay, let's not take it too seriously right now, that my emotional state right now. Let's just pull back, go do something else that really I know that really makes me joyful, and see how it feels. So that's one thing. And then the other is when you know like other people's type. For example, you say, okay, that person is designed to actually respond that way in life, where so you just pull back and say, okay, I'm not gonna take it personal. But sorry, I cut you. I just it came to mind.
that's great. No, thank you for sharing, because that's exactly it. When you And this is the work. You're resonating to your design. You're coming to understand, you mentioned emotional clarity. Another thing too is if you look at the channel, see the channel here that connects your emotional system, it's all red.
Yes.
So if I look at this as an analyst, I say, wow, here's someone who's emotionally defined, but they don't even identify with that component of their nature. You don't even necessarily recognize that you're emotional, but you are.
Yeah, that's true. It's true too.
Yeah. And so the whole waiting for clarity thing can be a little bit more mysterious. So then it becomes less about, okay, how does my personality feel about my emotions, and more so just about giving yourself time. And when you're feeling good and passionate and open to be social and to communicate, that's when you know. Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing that so much, the level of detail is just really impressive. Thank you. Because for the longest time, I have resisted being an emotional person. And I've also, of course, through conditioning as well, because we're not like, oh, you're taking things too seriously or etc. And you're like, well, I'm kind of designed that way. I can't not, like, at some point that like life became easier when I was able to accept that I this is emotional authority and start listening to it, even if it doesn't make sense.
If you isolate your personality in the chart, the emotional definition disappears. Like you said, you're coming to understand your emotional nature is something that you're going to have to learn through the knowledge base and then apply through experience, but your personality is never going to identify with it. If anything, you identify with being more instinctive because you have a defined splenic system connected to the heart. So it's more like your willful instincts, okay, which is existential split-second decision is what you identify with, and yet you have this raging hot emotional system that is actually your inner authority that's sort of operating below the conscious personality level, but it's there. It's like your chemistry is emotional, even though you don't identify with it, and your personality would prefer to just make split-second existential decisions, but yielding to your inner authority as an emotional person is really important because it's the physical chemistry that you have to deal with. And how, again, think about the mechanics here, okay? When you have someone's emotional system and it's connected to their throat, how do you think you come across to other people when you're speaking when you're not feeling good? How do you think you
Well,
come across to people when you're feeling really good?
yeah. I've seen those moments.
You know?
And it's not necessarily when I don't feel good all around me. Doesn't, but I do as well. I do feel as well. It's both actually. What I find is if I'm not feeling good, I like all around me doesn't feel good as well. They sort of sense it. They sort of sense, oh, she's feeling really
Raging.
raging anger, but as well I perceive the atmosphere around me, so it sort of acts as a conditioning thing too, because I don't want to impact people negatively. So
Yeah.
for the longest time I just conditioned myself to just be happy all the time, be pleasant and all that, just to make sure that people are feeling, not too impacted by my emotional by my emotional state, basically. And that one was another one that I was like, oh yes, once I started to liberate myself from that, it was just pure joy.
It's going to be very difficult for you to ever hide your emotions. Design sun, 22nd gate, fourth line. So basically your radiance, what you shine out into the world, because we're looking at the sun, it's your emotions. And those emotions are directly associated with your openness or closed offness to want to engage socially with other people, to articulate, to share, to communicate, to lead. And again, your logical mind, so you have a great mind for organizing details, expressing details, facts, naming things. You probably have a name for everything. Do you name your car? Maybe not, but the 1762 can be like that. It's the name, a channel of giving things names. Now, your logical mind is going to look at your individual emotions and just be totally confused by the whole thing, because your energy can be very logical and process oriented. And then at the same time, you can feel like you're down and melancholic and it doesn't really match up, but yield to the the emotions, and when you're up and you're happy, and yeah, when you're sad, when you're melancholic, it's a manifesting channel. So that's where the anger comes from. If you're feeling angry, hey, at least you know not to do anything drastic or make any big decisions when you're down on your wave. So
Yeah. Z. Mikael, I know you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I'm waiting for this interesting conversation to end. So I think for me, what fascinates me about the human design is I was living it. The whole, I'm 54. I was living it almost the last 54 years. And I create things. Naturally, I inform. Naturally, I inform, but I do it. And they get angry. Now, the problem is to convince them, to explain them why I did it, what I did. And I have a manifestor son. I did for the family, all of them, and understanding it. And he's a high function autistic, and I try to guide him. And when certain things I stop him, he get angry. Like me, I'm angry on certain things. So this is more than anything tool in the world that equipped. Especially for me, it was confirmation. It's not. I did not did it because of my human design. I did my life. Now, everything I see it is just like history. Wow, that's what. There was a lot of things, project, I initiate them, and as soon as I leave, the project fell or disappear. So it's just amazed me. My question is, how does the transit affect every day? Like you said earlier when you're explaining, there are transit happening every day. So let's say on the transit, the undefined space will be defined. It's just that only for that period of transit, it will define and go. So if you can explain more on that one, that will be, because that's our living future life to live.
yeah.
If you can explain more, that I appreciate.
Yeah, you got it. It defines it, becomes active. So if you have an undefined heart center and the transit's defining your heart, I know, Zimikel, you have a defined heart center because you're ego manifestor, but just as an example, for those of us who don't have a defined heart center, let's say the transit is coming into your life, and let's say it's a powerful one like the sun. So you got a Sun Earth 4037 transit because it's an opposition. You got to find ego, and you all of a sudden feel pumped up in your willpower and capacity to make promises and make deals and bargains with your community. And you sign all these contracts thinking that you're some superhero. You bet your bottom dollar that as soon as that transit goes away, the willpower and the consistency of heart and ego and determination show up to fulfill that contract will no longer be present. You will have an undefined heart center as you always have. No, you're laughing, but it's true.
Yeah, you are right. It is.
It's true. No,
it's
you, especially the 4037, because that channel is all about community bargains and contracts. When that one comes around, everybody's feeling pumped up, willful, and ready to sign their life away to the most ridiculous commitment and bargain and promise you can ever possibly imagine, in hope of material gain. And of course, as soon as the transit's gone, silence.
And one of the most things is I get tired. I used to get tired when I work, and I did not know it. So in 2016, they laid off me. I was happy. I was laid off, and I was happy.
Yeah.
And I was resting for 3 years, just reading, and I did not work. And my defined spot are two: the heart center and the throat center. All of them, they are undefined. and it just I mean, I wish everyone know how they are designed, how they do. It will save them a lot of things. And I try to share to my kids, and my kids, they are not listening, because there is a time, but at least I able to understand them on certain conversation, discussion. Okay, and it's a very powerful tool that exists. And I'm glad you are explaining very well, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for your sharing. It's validation is a word that I've heard so many times and felt personally. Because like you said, it's you don't become your design as a result of studying it. For many people, it just affirms their life process after having already lived their life, because it's the mechanics of your life. It's the handbook or the user manual that we never had growing up, right? You've been your design since day one. So, this, like, for example, the keynoting I did today for you, Kareen, it all resonates because it's in your person. It's already there. The transits come and go. Our connections with other people come and go, and the energy they bring into our lives and how we experience that comes and goes. What's most consistent is your design, who you are. And remember, the whole point of it is returning self-sovereignty, inner authority to the individual so that you can be yourself every day. And then there's no difficulties. You have nothing to lose. The actual, that part actually is relatively easy, because it's like the car is designed to drive. It has no problem driving. Okay. What's difficult is the conditioning and the deconditioning process that we all choose to go through with this knowledge base. Kareen, learning to slow down, not rush through big decisions. If there's a project that's due at the end of the month, not doing it on the first day, and now you're burnt out, exhausted, frustrated, whatever that conditioning may be for that individual and how it ties into their type is the work. And deconditioning, in fact, happens over the course of 7-year cycles. Human design recognizes the 7-year cellular regeneration cycle as the process, because it's cellular. It's not, remember, none of this is really about your personality or your personal preferences. Okay. It's about deconditioning the body and the physical vehicle through, like you said, Zimikao, you took 3 years off. You're a manifestor, undefined sacral. You're not designed to work. You're here to just initiate projects, lead them to a certain stage, and then that's your work. That's your work done. But the non-sacrals, we all suffer from physical exhaustion if we work too hard, so, and it takes time. It takes time to heal the form. It takes time to begin the process of even addressing those things, and human design can really help to speed it up. Instead of, you can find out something today that may take you 15 years to figure out on your own, or through the advice of another counselor or doctor or practitioner, but design can identify it today, and you can start the process of accepting it and working with it. And thank you very much for this invitation. It's been a lot of fun. I'm feeling pretty good now, and yeah, love to
Yes,
come
thank
back.
you
And
for
Thank you.
yes, thank you for accepting the invitation. Is there anybody else who has question for Ryan, for Willa? Oh, there's a question, Isaac. Go ahead. You're unmuted. You're muted, rather.
Okay, hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to understand, if we still have time, when you use this map. Sorry about my English. It's not that, but if you want to change things, and some things about yourself, you have this, let's say you're a manifestor, but when you do the human design, is it like a process that you can use it and then make your life better? I mean, when you know some things and you know your conditioning, do you have the in it the tools, the advice, the process? Do you have a process in this tool?
Yes.
Maybe okay.
Yes. Yes. Remember, it starts with the application of what we shared today,
Yeah.
which is your type specific decision-making strategy. Okay. If you're a manifestor, learning to inform before taking action. If you're a projector, you're waiting for invitations before sharing your advice with other people. If you're a generator, you're waiting to respond so that you can use your creative life force power in ways that bring you satisfaction. That's the entry point.
Mm.
Okay. What that's immediately going to do is eliminate resistance. At the very least, it's going to eliminate resistance. Because if a projector is pushing the river, they're going to feel bitter and exhausted. If a manifestor is working too hard, they're going to feel exhausted and angry. And if a generator is initiating projects and left trying to juggle all of these commitments and they're frustrated, okay, that's all resistance in our life that we're experiencing at an individual level. So the moment you apply your strategy and your authority as your type, you're immediately cutting out that resistance and your life can be drastically improved. That's where most people derive the most practical benefit. Okay. In addition to that, is the work of working with a trained analyst, I would say, because what we would do from there is identify all the unique components of your chart, sort of like I did today with Corinne's design, where I keynoted her chart, because that's where you begin to actually identify someone's unique gifts. And when you can highlight and identify someone's unique gifts, there's a whole plethora of tools and strategies that can be applied to help hone that person's abilities, their natural God-given abilities, okay, and help them to flourish and refine those capacities. And, you know, we all have our quirks. Do you know that word? Quirks? Strange, oddities to our nature. Everybody has those, okay? And like I said early in the presentation, human design really actually quite cherishes uniqueness and quirkiness. So you can't really chisel out a perfect human from this, but you can, like I said, begin to refine your own decision-making process, which immediately eliminates resistance. And then from there, you can go deeper into the information to begin to understand how you're uniquely wired and how to hone and nurture your strengths. For example, let's say I identify in someone's design that they would be a fantastic writer, but they don't even know it yet. Okay, you can encourage that person to experiment through the agency of their type with writing, with creative acts of producing music or poetry, song, okay? And from that, you know, so your question is really powerful because it goes back to children as well and the application of this knowledge base when people are young. Because coming to it, like Zimikel, you said, after 54 years, it's a validation of your life. Imagine getting it at the beginning.
Right.
So
It would have been helpful for me if I knew
Yeah.
it from the beginning. I'm
Yeah.
sure about that. Every one of us, I think.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So children, young adults, teenagers, you know, those who, and it's becoming more and more common because human design is growing in popularity now. It's becoming more accessible. Like Jared shared earlier, the Neutrino Design app is a fantastic resource for people, allows you to do your own study into things. But yeah, strategy eliminates resistance. That's automatically an improvement. From there, it's coming to understand your unique strengths and how to nurture them. That's what I would say. And that's more or less, I don't want to say it's all the system can do, but that's most of what it can do. From there, it's then that person taking the information and applying it to their life and living their life. And for most, those basic guiding principles are enough to create massive shifts, especially over time. Like I said, every 3.5 years, every 7 years, after experimenting with the knowledge, you know, we call it realign. You begin to align and you resonate. You know, like think about me being here today. Me being here today as a projector is a result of me honoring my strategy. Right? Okay. And it's been a pretty seamless experience. I haven't felt any resistance. I haven't felt any awkwardness. I haven't had to push anything. For me, this meeting has been a success, and the meeting will be recorded and shared, and more people will derive benefit from it. You see? So it's that simple. Strategy of the types opens up a whole gateway of experience. And then from there, it's coming to learn, like I did with Kareen today, through keynoting, what's unique about your nature. And yeah. And then learning about others. Oh my God. Learning about the other people in your life, to recognize them. And then that brings this whole, it's like living in another dimension. You know, Ra used to say it's like sticking your head through the clouds. You know, you're peering into the mechanics behind the form, and it's like a pretty special perspective to have. And there's only so much we can do about who we are in terms of fixing, repairing. And most of that is usually comparison due to conditioning and fantasy and beliefs of the mind. How much of fixing and repairing do we really need? Well, we need healing, that's for sure. You know, the deconditioning, that's really important. But from there, like I've said many times now, is design celebrates uniqueness, and uniqueness is its own, how do you label it? It's, you're unlike anything else in the entire universe, and you have a part to play.